Thank you for joining me today. My name is Miriam Joy, and we're doing another tips and technique video with you today. A lot of you have asked me to work with you on color, and I use a lot of background texture on my process and on my gourds. And I realize a lot of people don't know quite how to sponge, haven't sponged at all, or don't sponge correctly. So I'm going to work with you on that today. This color here was a red leather dye, and I sponged it with a dark red and a pumpkin color. I use a lot of that in my gourds, or a pumpkin or a yellow. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. We're actually going to use a brown and a green, and this is actually a leather dye. It is like a tan or a light brown. You can put sponging on any type of leather dye, ink dye, acrylics, just anything that you color your gourd with. You can sponge over it with acrylic paints. There's no right or wrong on that. And don't worry if it's not acrylic or anything else. And you can also sponge with your ink dyes or other items. We'll go into that a little bit more in detail. The first thing we want to do is I always like to use a sea sponge. It's more natural than the other sponges out there, and you get more of a different effect. You have spots that are cut on it or spots that are on the inside, so you want to make sure that you have the natural part as much as possible, and we're going to get a nice, neat design out of that. Now, the first thing I do when I get ready to sponge is I soak it in my water. But one of the key things when you're soaking, you want to get that nice and wet so the water's distributed evenly, but wring it out till there is no water left. A lot of people sponge and they still have water in there, so you've got water running everywhere and it just ruins your design. So you want to completely wring that out till there's no water left. And then we're going to start with our first color, and this is just a real dark green. Oh, that was fun. And I'm going to I use paper plates. You could use different items. You could use wax paper or whatever you wanted. Now, the biggest mistake people make when they're sponging is they put their sponge directly into the paint, which we do not want to do, because then you just have a blob, and I'll show you, a paint. So if you instead take your sponge and pull your paint, I'm taking the edge of it, I'm not in the middle of that, and then you have this here and you sponge off of that, then you get a nice even design instead of just splotches of paint. So we're going to come over to our gourd, and I always start at the bottom of mine. That way, if it's too bright, not the right color, something like that, I can stop and it probably won't affect my gourd. But I'm sponging it here and there. And how I pick my colors, I will a lot of times just set them with my gourd color. You could pull the ink bottle or acrylic bottle, whatever you base coated it with, leather dye, and set it next to your other two colors that you want to sponge with. I'm using two darker colors today, but a lot of times what I will do is use one darker and one lighter. I just wanted this one to really show off today, and I get so stuck in the red, yellows, orange, and browns. I want to do something just a little bit different today. And you can see you're always pouncing it straight up and down. Don't ever pull it or turn it, then you'll get kind of a drag line, and you don't want that. And by turning it as you're going, it keeps the design moving instead of staying in same in a row, so you have one design that's exactly the same. You don't want it. You want it varied. And see how fast and easy that was? We've got that all nice and neat on there. So I am going to come over here and rinse my color out, and we're going to go to the brown. When I'm doing background textures, I usually do two colors. I think it makes it look just a little bit nicer. You could do three. I do not recommend any more than three, because then you're going to start to muddy it. So you don't want to do that. So we're going to pour our brown out here. This is just a darker brown. And again, I've squeezed all my water out of my sponge. We're going to come back in here again, pull this out. So we're walking it, pouncing it straight up and down. When I was telling you not to slide on your gourd, if you slide, you end up with something like that on your gourd as well. So you want that pounce to it. So we're going to come in here now, and we're just going to go here and there. And you can do this heavier, lighter, whatever you want. Remember, you can always go back and add more. You can't, it's not as easy to take it off. So I would always start out a little bit lighter if you were just starting out till you kind of know what you want, and then you can always go back and add more in. Sometimes when I'm doing my design, I'll come in and I will do like a lot of one color and then just a little bit of the next two colors. For my backgrounds, a lot of times I use my texture brush and my wax. I do have a video up on that now. So that's another really fun technique. And you're just using your Crayola, so you don't have to have any other products. So check that out as well. And that's how to use the texture brush and insert. Okay, now isn't that fun? We've got that all nice and neatly on. The one difference between this sponging it on and using the texture brush, I will say you can go over this with the Crayola design and not have to worry about it, whereas if you're using the texture brush, I always do the design first because you can't go over those areas because it's wax and it's already cool. So there is that distinctive difference. It's just all in what you want, but this is really kind of neat. It's kind of made it look a little bit older or kind of antique-ish, and then I would pick some of these colors that I used in my sponging to help with my design in the front. So that is kind of a quick lesson on how to sponge. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions about this process, please email me at art@miriamjoy.com or visit my website at miriamjoy.com. Jump on over to Facebook. We're always working on new projects over there. And also under the video tab, we've always putting up new video tabs, and I hope to be continuing the color techniques as well up on YouTube. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.